to control the tempo of the game. For example, what you'd say, like you lose a fight, you have 2 ultimates, you decide to save them, so for the next time you have some ultimates to use, you have some tempo to gain. But yeah, those kinds apply. Anything else? There's one really simple something that ults do in the game. Like apart from creating space, they also gain you. What happens when you Sigma ult someone in when they're half HP?
Kills.
You kill them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dead.
you kill them.
They dead.
Yeah, so kills also count for tempo, and that's kind of like if you want to think about like just in general sense, the pace of the game, ults and kills count for tempo, but tempo is really big of a package in itself. And if we want to say like in a simple term what tempo is really, I wait, can I? Yeah, there we go. If you want to like in a really simple terms to say what tempo is, it is oops, it's control over the outcome of the game. And so with like that's really like simplistically say it. But for example, when you want to gain tempo in a game, like you'd say you're moving into Volskaya, you want to gain tempo on the game, so you use ultimates to make it so that the fight will go over faster. You get kills in the game, and with that, you're also moving in faster. Your tanks, because they know that you're gaining tempo and they need to keep up with the tempo, they move in faster. Your whole team moves in faster, and with that, you either outpace a team or the enemy team matches your pace. And so you're trying to gain over the control of the outcome of the game or the fight, I guess this, but yeah. Outcome game, yes. But yeah. So that said, this is like very easy to say, but it's super hard to master. It's something that really like if you want to think about like Overwatch League teams, they don't talk about tempo in their own when they're thinking about like how to plan, because the coach makes up the plans that gain tempo for the team. And so with that said, like for example, they have scenarios of how to use a grab dragon. That's a combo of like in itself, but that's also just like they need to have the appropriate tempo to use that grab and dragon, and then with that they gain the tempo and win the fight. So the players don't need to think about the tempo of the game too much. Sometimes the ult tracker might, the shot caller might think about the tempo of the game, and the tanks, which is why I said tanks are really important in this. Tanks need to tanks set the tempo of the game for the team, and we'll see it soon. But pretty much, if you think about like how teams match up, is that like the tanks will always be the front line. And so with that in mind, like if you're going forward, you're setting up the tempo, how fast the team is going, how slow the team is going. And which is why like at some points I've given practice for teams that are going too slow, is that yeah, there's a chain on your own main tank, follow the main tank however fast it is going, because if your team is in a mixed tempo, then it's not a fight of a team. It's not a team fight anymore. It's just individual skill, people doing their own thing, even though they might be comboing ults and whatever. But the tempo of the game is so different that people can't follow up, and that's how many teams lose winnable fights. And tempo has become super important for one reason only: ultimates, like ultimates and like one-shot heroes, DPS heroes, really enable kills so fast that if you mismatch the tempo, you lose fights automatically. I'm gonna be showing you just a fight from this is your scrim, but I will be also showing you a fight from our scrims in Rialto, where we were full holding the enemy team, and not full holding, second point holding on Rialto, and with that they were holding really. The card was here, and our own team were here, and the enemy team was coming from the corner. And so here you can set up a tempo. The defense usually can match the tempo of like where to take the fight, and so they can peel back if they want. The attack team is also trying to set up the tempo. They're trying to go in faster, or if they want to play a poke war, they will be going in slower. tempo in its like very simplest form. And so what my team did was they went in and they lost the tempo, the control over the tempo. They tried to go too fast because they were like, yeah, we can win this fight, and if we win this fight or if they make them unable to touch the point, we'll win the fight. But that doesn't really matter when you're losing the fight because you are just going too fast. Anyway, we'll be looking a little bit about here so that we can see how the enemy team's tanks go here. We're not looking too much about you guys because you guys are playing what I'd like to say at because you're playing a static comp. So that you have your Orisa that can't really go fast into enemy team, and so neither can even here. And with that like in mind, tempo is super important when you're playing rush and dive. And with a static comp like this, like double shield, you can sometimes make the tempo less important, like when you're thinking about pace of the game in itself. Ultimate still set up tempo very fast. And one thing that is a surefire way to get yourself killed and lose the game is thinking that you have the tempo on your side. So that, for example, Chemist ults, the Bongo comes in, you guys get a kill on their main tank, and now you think that you have the opportunity. You have they have lost their main tempo controller, the main tank. Now we can get over tempo. We can go further in, and that's usually when teams lose. Because in those cases, people forget almost always to acknowledge what the enemy team can do, and that makes it in the decision making. Like if we think about like how teams usually lose the fights, is that they go too far in, they give up the space, or the other way around, they huddle up too much in open space and they can't control the space anymore. The space control was something that we discussed like 3 weeks ago, but in the same way that like space control is the most important aspect of Overwatch, tempo is something that will almost always decide the outcome of the game, like during the fight. Anyway, let's quickly look how the enemy team comes in, and with that we can also look at their just go in like their main tanks here. So pretty simple setup if you think about it. Usually, like when you think about rotation, these don't really count for tempo, like the original rotation, because these can be done in the pace that the enemy team wants. Like if we're not holding like right close up to them, the tempo of the game is just like decided by all the players currently in the game. You guys can do a rotation, no speed, no nothing to hurry about. These guys can do their own rotation, and it's usually like when the fight starts that the tempo matters. And here they sit. So, well, actually, yeah, let them all die. So here you see these guys trying to do what a rush comp wants to do. They want to go in, and so they need to do this scary rotation up there, and then they need to try to bring the fast tempo in. But since you guys are controlling the tempo already, you guys are in the back line. You're forcing the enemy team to play slow. They can't like if you think about it, not really slow, they're not doing anything. You guys are playing slow, but the enemy team isn't doing anything. And when we talk about this, when we were talking about differences of comps, the rush comp has high resources, but you guys are just using your resources so much better because you're using them slow, and the enemy team needs to use their resources while doing the rotation. So they use them quickly, and when they arrive at your place, you guys don't. They don't have any sort of tempo, they don't have any sort of resources, and so with that, their tempo crumbles. Again, I'm using the word tempo a lot, and I'm just trying to make the concepts clear for you, but don't think about the tempo too much. When you're in a fight, like the thing that the tanks can do is check that they're with one another, and the support check that they are with the like they can reach the team. And that's the only things that like should matter really in game, like if you're like in-game decision making, not like when you're doing boards you can think about tempo later. And that usually with that like knowledge of tempo you can make plans later on, like for example how do we want to do certain rotation,